Senator Al Franken and Senator John Cornyn had a senator fight, and it was over Ted Cruz and what he said about Al Franken during Jeff Sessions' Attorney General hearing. So let's watch this, and then we'll come back and I'll break it down and give you some more information.
That's what happened. Those are the facts. But when describing this history, Senator Cruz misrepresented what happened. So I'd like to take this opportunity to set the record straight.
I object to the senator disparaging a fellow member of the committee here in his absence. I would think
he should be here, first of all. Secondly, he disparaged me,
do it to his face.
Let him make his case, and then we'll go back to you.
Sure.
I object to the senator. We're here to talk about the president's nominee, not a colleague. And I object to disparaging.
Don't take this from my time.
Disparaging a colleague on this committee, and particularly in the colleague's absence. It's just not. It's untoward and it's inappropriate, and I object.
Okay.
Can I speak to that?
You can speak to it, but I think that we'd be better off if we just let it go at this point.
You mean let me continue my speech?
Yeah, would you do that, please?
I will, thank you. But just to be safe, just to make sure that, okay, I did that paragraph. This is what happened. Those are the facts. But when describing this history, Senator Cruz misrepresented what happened. So I'd like to take this opportunity to set the record straight.
I object again. The senator apparently can't get the message from the chairman that this is over the top and inappropriate.
I think the senator from Texas doesn't get the message from the chairman.
You put the chairman in an awful bad position at this point because I'm not sure that I know
where I'm going.
I don't disagree with anything Senator Cornyn said, but I'm not sure I want to rule anybody out of order. But could you please leave personalities out of it?
Can I explain what I'm doing here? Because Senator Cruz did the very thing that Senator Cornyn is accusing me of doing. In my absence, he misrepresented me. He misrepresented Mr. Hebert. He personally went after me. He personally impugned my integrity. You didn't object then, did you?
Okay. I'm not sure I was here. And I'm not sure
I wasn't
the
here
characterization.
But let me continue.
It would be a decent and honorable thing to do it in the senator's presence and not.
Well, get him here, but he'll have a tape of it. Okay. Allow me to read from the hearing transcript. This is Senator Cruz talking to Senator Sessions. And what I'm doing here is I'm clarifying Senator Sessions' record.
Proceed.
Senator Cruz, now earlier in this hearing, Senator Franken engaged you in a discussion that I think was intended to try to undermine your character and integrity.
Yeah, to political junkies like me, that was the Royal Rumble. Or that was like WrestleMania, something. So let me give you a little bit more backstory, because I actually was watching C-SPAN when I saw Ted Cruz do exactly what Al Franken is talking about there. So earlier in the day, Al Franken had done a tough line of questioning against Jeff Sessions, who of course is trying to become Attorney General. And Jeff Sessions had made some bullshit up like, you know, my proudest moment was when I was involved in 20 or 30 different civil rights cases. For those of you who don't know, Jeff Sessions is a massive opponent of civil rights. In fact, he said that a white civil rights attorney was, quote, a traitor to his race. He's deeply conservative, one of the most conservative members of the Senate, but now that he's trying to become Attorney General, he has to try to pretend like his record is all hunky-dory and great, and he cares deeply about civil rights. So he had made previous comments like, oh yes, I've been involved in so many of these cases. So somebody who actually worked with Jeff Sessions, who was one of his staffers, had testified back in 1986 when Jeff Sessions was trying to become a federal judge, which, by the way, he got rejected for because even other Republicans were like, ooh, your record on race is bad. But this staffer said, yeah, no, we did all the work for any of the civil rights cases that came up, and anything he's saying is basically misrepresenting his record. So Al Franken brings this up to Jeff Sessions' face during the hearing. And of course, Jeff Sessions doesn't have a good response. So later on in the day, when Al Franken's no longer there, Ted Cruz comes, and he starts, maligning the integrity of the staffer who said all the facts about Jeff Sessions. And one of the things that Ted Cruz says is, well, that staffer retracted his testimony and had to apologize or something. So he was leaving the impression that, oh, this guy has been outed as a liar, and of course Jeff Sessions is great when it comes to civil rights. Well, then Al Franken, I guess, saw the tape of that and heard about it, and he was fucking furious. So now at the closing portion of Jeff Sessions' hearing to become Attorney General, without Ted Cruz there, Al Franken's like, well, I'm going to set the record straight because Ted Cruz is a fucking smarmy liar. Because he is. So Al Franken gives the facts. You know what the reality is? Out of 24 pages of testimony, 3 lines were retracted from that guy's statement about Jeff Sessions. And of course, the core of what the staffer was saying is true. That Jeff Sessions, he didn't give a fuck about civil rights. He wasn't some sort of warrior, some sort of champion, in favor of civil rights. So, but again, Ted Cruz, without Al Franken there, accuses Al Franken of lying, accuses the staffer of lying, says, oh, his credibility has been destroyed and he retracted his statement. And Al Franken's got to come out and say, no, he retracted 3 lines out of 24 pages and the core of what he was saying is true. And that's where Cornyn comes in. Oh, let me clutch my pearls. Are you dare talking about a dear colleague in his absence? Well, gosh golly. And Franken's like, hey, dipshit. That's exactly what Cruz did, and you had fuck all to say. You got nothing to say. What are you talking about? So you're accusing me of what Cruz did to me. So he gets to go out there and lie without Al Franken there to correct his ass. So Cruz gets to go out there and lie and misrepresent. And then when Franken tries to correct the record and get the facts out there, Cornyn's like, oh, how dare you? This is so ungentlemanly. This is inappropriate. This is over the top. No, you know what was inappropriate and over the top? When smarmy, slimy-ass Ted fucking Cruz went out there and misrepresented and lied to try to make Jeff Sessions look better than he is. So no, Al Franken is 100% right. And my favorite clip there, my favorite part of the clip is Chuck Grassley, because he's so obviously not a leader and shouldn't be the head of a committee. Well, gosh. Guys, shucks, this is really difficult. I don't want to tell anybody that they're wrong, so go ahead and proceed. But I don't disagree with anything John Cornyn said. Oh, that's so sad. Look, as a final point, you know what's inappropriate and over the top, John Cornyn? The fact that any of you Republicans think Jeff Sessions should be Attorney General. That's grotesque. Because here you have a guy who said, good people don't smoke marijuana. Here you have a guy, like I told you already, he called a white civil rights attorney a, quote, traitor to his race. He used to joke about the KKK and say, I used to like them until I found out some of them smoke weed. His voting record is one of the most conservative in the Senate. We went over it in detail. Did you know he has a 0% rating from the Human Rights Campaign, which means he voted with the LGBTQ community none of the time. Out of all of his votes in the Senate, all of his votes as a politician, he never voted in favor of gay rights. So he's a loathsome person with a loathsome ideology, with a backwards ideology, and he would drag this country back decades at least. And you're acting like it's inappropriate for Al Franken to correct the record and give facts. No. What's inappropriate and what's over the top and what's out of line and what's unbecoming of a gentleman is supporting a cretin like Jeff Sessions for Attorney General. So again, Al Franken, you're 100% right. And I hope the Democrats pull out every trick in the book in order to prevent Jeff Sessions from becoming Attorney General.